DSTV is losing billions. Every year, they keep making more and more losses. MultiChoice's annual report for 2024 revealed that active DSTV subscribers in South Africa declined from 8 million to 7.6 million over the last year, and those numbers continue to decline. Although South Africa only accounts for 48.5% of MultiChoice's active subscribers, they have lots of subscribers on the continent. South Africa is unique because it accounts for 60% of the group revenue. Now, when you look at the data in the annual report, what you see is the following: that all of the segments of MultiChoice's DSTV subscriber base have declined. DSTV Premium declined by 8% year on year. DSTV Mid-Market declined by 9% year on year. And DSTV Mass Market declined by 1% year on year. People are no longer interested in the DSTV product in mass, and premium subscribers particularly are no longer interested. MultiChoice's financial statements for the year that ended 31 March, which was just released now, showed that it recorded a 4.1 billion rand loss. And basically, the business has become technically insolvent. Now, this is not new. This trend is not new. I always say the test of analysis is time. The test of analysis is time. You may have missed this analysis that I gave that I'm about to show you, and you may have missed it because, I put it on Twitter, I put it on TikTok, but if you were not following me there, and maybe you just became aware of this content recently in terms of my YouTube page, you may have missed that particular content. But I did raise this issue even last year, and I did point out some of the issues. So because I believe that the test of analysis is time, I'm going to play you what I said. Then we're going to have a conversation after, and then we're going to think about whether anything that I said then has changed or not, and I'll make some other comments at the end.
What's going on with DSTV?
DSTV is really struggling. DSTV operator MultiChoice published its full year results, which ended in March of 2023, and they reported a loss of 2.92 billion for the year. 2.92 billion. That's how much they lost. It's a significant number for a business to report having lost, and shareholders are going to be extremely worried, and they have a right to be. Now, most of this loss is coming because of a loss of premium DSTV subscribers. In 2016, 55% of DSTV revenue came from the premium content, which consists of the Premium and the Compact Plus. But by 2022, that number had fallen to 37%. And it's estimated by publications that that number has fallen to as low as 33% in 2023. Meaning that high-end customers, people in the middle class and the upper class, are no longer seeing the value of DSTV, especially the premium DSTV. Now, here are some of the reasons why I think a lot of people have walked away from DSTV. Number one, their content was just too expensive and not relevant enough for the price. So they were charging a premium for budget content. Number two, they really became too comfortable with their monopoly status and failed to innovate when the writing was on the wall and when they still had time to take necessary interventions to fix the problem. Newer and cheaper alternatives with better libraries came onto the market. You have Netflix, you have Amazon Prime, you have Disney Plus, and if you look at the catalog coming from those three establishments, which you can get for less than the value of DSTV Premium in and of itself, that already shows that it was not going to survive as a viable contender in the market.
When it comes to some of the channels that DSTV used to offer before, the Hollywood channels, the E-News, etc., looking at what's happening in Hollywood, those really have been decimated by the fact that celebrities now run their own Instagram accounts, they run their own Twitter accounts, they have TikTok, etc. So people who are trying to reach celebrities no longer need to do it on your platform. They can go directly to those celebrities and access them. Then if you think about channels such as Channel O, BET, MTV, which recently shut down, YouTube, Spotify, Apple Music killed that business model. It used to be that teenagers would only be able to get music videos and have something playing in the background as a result of having access to Channel O, MTV, etc. But now they can curate their own playlists, they can choose and follow their own artists on YouTube, and have a YouTube premium subscription for less than 100 Rand and have that playing in the background all day. The only thing that was really keeping a lot of people on DSTV, and still to some extent is still keeping a lot of people on DSTV, is the sports packages and the news packages. But people are now even finding different ways to consume news. You can watch Al Jazeera on YouTube. You can watch Sky News on YouTube. You can watch a variety of channels. I think PBS and several American channels just on YouTube. You don't need to necessarily have a DSTV subscription to watch and consume global news. So they're not even being able to retain that basis. But when you think about it even deeper, at a business management level, and if you've studied business management, DSTV disregarded Porter's 5 forces and did not innovate around Porter's 5 forces. Now, there are five of Porter's forces. There are five DSTV disregarded Porter's 5 forces. Now, Michael Porter is a leading business academic who came up with this business market analysis strategy, and it's something that you're supposed to use to remain relevant in the market, and they absolutely ignored it. What are the 5 forces? The threat of new entrants. If there are threats of new entrants, you got to move a different way. Number 2, the bargaining power of suppliers, the content creators. In this instance, their ability to be able to give their content to a variety of platforms outside of your platform means that you're not as strong as you could be. The bargaining power of buyers. In this particular market, at the beginning, when DSTV was a monopoly, the bargaining power of buyers was low. So you could show them Anaconda every weekend and it wouldn't be a problem. But when the bargaining power of buyers became high, because many buyers had to have internet for work purposes in any respect, for children educational purposes in any regard. So when they already had the internet and they already had to pay for the internet and the DSTV, then they started having buying power when they could now see that, hang on, I can get Netflix, I can get Disney Plus, I can get Amazon Prime, I can have a lot of content, I can even get YouTube, and I don't need to be paying DSTV 800 Rands a month. That's simply it. Number 4, the threat of substitute products or services. So many substitute products or services came into play, right? Especially on the formal and informal market, because some people still know how to use torrents, etc., etc. So students and young professionals who knew how these technologies operated didn't see the value of getting DSTV once they got their first job, etc., etc. And finally, rivalry amongst existing competitors. That's another one of Porter's 5 forces. So when DSTV was a monopoly, they could ignore this. But once the monopoly was broken by the fact that there was digital disruption, they had to get back to the drawing board, and they moved to the drawing board way too slowly. I mean, MultiChoice still has ownership of Showmax, and they can recover a lot of their ground under the Showmax brand, but the DSTV brand in and of itself, it's game over. It's game over. And the final takeaway for me and for us all to remember is that monopolies are not good in any market. They're not good for those businesses, and they're not good for those consumers. If you look at how MultiChoice is operating in South Africa and in Africa, really, they were operating as a monopoly, and they got arrogant, they got complacent, they were not serving their customers well, they were not aggressive in terms of pricing, and when there was disruption, they rightfully lost their position because they were sitting too comfortable and too cozy for too long. So if you're a business student, if you're somebody who cares about business or just thinks about the economy, this is a classic indicator that you should not have monopolies in the market. They are bad for consumers, and they're also even bad for those companies, because once there's a disruption or change, those companies are bound to fail. What do you think? Are you buying DSTV shares? Are you a shareholder of DSTV, or are you waiting for DSTV shares to go down in price so you can pick them up on the basis of Showmax being a value proposition that will continue to be competitive? Let's have a conversation.
Well, I think I've been justified. My original views, I think, are still holding up even now. And until DSTV changes their behavior and their approach, I don't think that they're going to see a turnaround. The issue with DSTV is that they behaved like a classical monopoly, because they were a full monopoly of satellite television for decades, controlling satellite television across the continent. The problem with monopolies, and all of the economic literature supports this, is that they don't innovate, they don't respect customers, and they don't take care of product, and they don't deliver on services. DSTV became bloated, it became inefficient. So when Netflix came in, when data became a little bit more affordable, and when people had options, like now you've got Disney Plus, you've got YouTube, you've got Netflix. You don't have to necessarily even go to Showmax, right? Which is a competitor to those more directly. They were arrogant and they were lazy, and they over-relied on the fact that sports fans will continue to watch their content. And it's true, sports fans are carrying DSTV right now because they have no other platforms to access those sports. Well, some of the creative younger ones from university and some of the younger professionals, they have creative ways of accessing sports, and that's why they're not necessarily subscribing. If you've not had DSTV for a while, tell me, why haven't you had it? Why did you leave? Maybe you started working and you thought, I'm not going to get that. That's for my parents. And, maybe you walked away. The good news, though, for DSTV is that it's not over. They still have 7.6 million subscribers. They have to work hard to get those subscribers to stay on the platform. They need to apply a real amount of creativity and focus on local content and production of local content. And not just soapies, not just, crime stuff and these typical soapies that we see about the rich families with the very corrupt, or very thuggish leader in the family who always gets away with everything. Those Bold and the Beautiful remakes, they are effective up to a point. But there are so many young content creators across South Africa who don't have funding, who don't have resources, but have an abundance of ideas. Moja Love proves that you can get viewership and you can get revenue from authentic stories. The problem I have with Moja Love is that it's just trash most of the time. And it's like some version of black entertainment television. And if you watch the Boondocks, you know how that can be a problem in and of itself. So they need to do something. They have opportunities, and I'm not dissing Moja Love. There's a place for that kind of content as well. I don't want to seem like there's only, you've got oxtail and you've got a McDonald's burger. They both serve a role in life. All I'm saying is that what Moja Love proves from the business side is that telling everyday stories does actually have revenue. But for too long, MultiChoice has not focused enough on that. And also, even now, they are still overlooking a lot of the young creators. They need to be talking to 18-year-olds, 19-year-olds, 20-year-olds who are going to do interesting things. And we've seen this on BBC. BBC being the British Broadcasting Channel. They've been able to get young people to make very exciting content for BBC, which has kept that channel relevant, right? So they make skits and stuff like that. There's one where the guy goes and does a drill birthday. So the girl gets a birthday message from her boyfriend, but it's in drill, right? And then they do the drill thing for her birthday. Hilarious stuff. I can't remember the name of the show, but it should be available on YouTube as well. And they do many of those skits about Idris Elba and stuff like that. And they've created a wide range of content, which has been fresh, and they've actually been able to launch a lot of stars into Hollywood, right? I think one of the shows is called Bubblegum or something. I can't remember the names of these shows. But the point I'm trying to make is that if you do this, you can stay in the game. But if you ignore it, you will continue every year to report losses, and you will continue every year to report declines in subscribers. I don't know, guys. What do you think? Are you still with DSTV? Let's have a conversation. Till the next one.